Hi guys, Sandy here. First of all, thanks for signing up for that private match analysis. I hope you're going to find it useful. I've already gone through the footage and there's some really good stuff in there. So if it is a good video and you're happy with it, then maybe we can put it on YouTube and then other people can also get benefit from this. But what we're going to do is we're going to break it down into 6 or 7 areas of the game, and then we're going to talk about each of those areas separately, and then we'll finish with a kind of recap and looking some messy points at the end. The first section, we're going to talk about the smashing, and you do some smashing really well. It's something that, there's some really good examples, and then we'll talk about some areas that probably could be improved. We're then going to look at your court position and where you should be moving and when you should be moving. We're then going to look at what you should be doing at net, like specifically at net, to try and keep that net position and finish the points. And that will lead nicely into your kind of shot preparation and looking particularly at that shot off the back glass, where there's a few areas that could be worked on there. And we'll do a little bit on the returns, and then we'll basically finish with those points, talking through the point structure. And like I said, we'll finish with the feedback at the end of the video. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll be with you throughout. I just wanted to highlight this point because I think it's the second point in the match, and it was just a really sensible paddle point. You can see the net players, they're holding the right position in the net, sensible volleys, cross. A bit unlucky that this smash hit the fence because then it bounced up and you ended up losing the net, which is a bit unfortunate, but generally it's a good point. And the same now, your transition back, you lob, come forward again, and they move back. It's actually very good paddle. You can see here, a smash down the line. Now that recovery of net, you need to come back after that to keep your net position, but so far so good on this point. Lots of coming forward and backward. We'll discuss the shot after the back glass later. A sensible smash into the corner. A really good start that was. So now we're going to look a little bit closer at the smashing now. So here you can see the smash down the line, and it's really important after a smash to keep that net position. So you must make sure that you approach the net again, and it's also risky going for a flat smash unless it's that situation where you're close and your opponent is near that back glass. A bit unlucky that the player got to that, but that's actually a good choice of smash to go down the line. So we're looking at some good smashes now. If you do hit into the corner, that speed smash just then is perfect. We're going to see some good examples first. So again, a good smash down the line. If you're close to the net, your opponent's at the back, that's a good time to smash down that line. Here you can see the point again, it develops, you get the smash. And again, flat smash, because his opponent's near the back glass, it's actually not a bad time to go for those type of smashes. There were some really good smashes at the beginning of this match. Again, he's a bit further back now, and you can see because he's that little bit further back, it's a little bit easier for the opponent to get to, so you've got to be a bit more sensible with that. So the two main considerations is where your opponent is and where you are in relation to the net. Here you can see he's close to the net, the opponent's behind the line. Good time to go for that aggressive smash. It's okay to be aggressive if you're in the right place for it. So there's always time for a bandeja and there's a good time for a smash. So again, we'll look here. Look how far back the opponent is, right by the glass, and that is a perfect time to go for that flat smash down the line because they don't have time to get forward afterwards. So now we'll look at some good examples for the bandeja or the defensive smash. So here, this is a time to gain your court position. So he comes back, hits the bandeja, moves up again, and it wasn't a particularly spinny or tricky type of smash. You're just gaining court position, and it's really well played. That's what we're looking for in the bandeja. Again, another one. Okay, now the player's gone out of position, but still a great bandeja into that corner. And again, we're going to see another example of this. Just a little bit of slice on the ball, going for a big target, and therefore not making the mistake. You obviously have less risk on this ball. And actually, I don't know if you guys realised, but you won more points from these type of smashes than from your aggressive ones, and also made less mistakes on them. Okay, so now we're going to look at a few times where the shot choices probably weren't the right ones. So here you see he goes for the smash, and he's gone for the vibra, which is the aggressive slice smash, but down the line, that's a risky shot to hit. Generally speaking, it's much easier to hit your bandeja cross court, often where the ball has come from, like that last example. Now, this might be slightly more technical, but it's really important to get fast in position here. Just walking backwards often means you're going to end up contacting behind your head, and it's going to be less accurate. As the match went on, there were more and more smashes down the line, and when you smash down the line, you don't have a lot of space to aim for. So you've either got to be really confident about that shot or go for that flat one we were talking about earlier. But here you see, again, a kind of vibra down the line, which is a very difficult shot to hit. So we'll finish the smashes talking about a nice bandeja. So here you can see the lob goes up, he gets in a good position, hits a nice bandeja, recovers the net, but because the partner's moving back, you end up losing that net position, and this will lead into our next topic, which is going to be court position. So we looked specifically at two types of smashes there. The first one was the hard, flat, aggressive smash, and there you really want to consider where your opponent is and where you are in relation to the court. If you're close to the net and it's an easy ball and your opponent is at the back of the court, like behind the service line, then that's a good time to hit the aggressive smash flat down the line because they don't have time to recover and play a defensive shot on that. If you're further back in the court, then it's more difficult and they have more time, so you're taking a little bit more of a risk. Now, when it comes to the bandeja, you hit some great examples of cross-court into that corner, recovered your net position and forced them into the back of the court, which is actually the point of the shot. And what ends up happening is players win so many more points doing this, partly because their opponent is already out of position, but partly because you then can maintain your net position. So ideally, most of the time you want to hit that cross court, sometimes down the centre, occasionally down the line, but really the majority of those you want to try and get that cross court if you can. And now we're going to have a little look at the court position. So starting with one of the more common mistakes in court position is running forward when you've hit a low lob into that no man's land, and it means that you can't be in a good position and your opponent has an easy shot into the gaps. In this point you can see it's a high deep lob we're going to see, and now that's not a bad time to come in because he probably shouldn't smash that, he's so far back in the court. But if you do that, you make sure that you volley back to that person at the back, because now you've lost your advantage because you've played to the net player and therefore you've been punished for it. I've slowed this point right down because this happened a lot during the match and it happened with all of the players. So, good serve, you've got that net position, and the first volley is a good volley into the corner, and this would normally be a setup to finish the point, but because you've moved backwards, it means that you're going to end up losing that net position and your partners come back, and you can see now you've ended up in no man's land with your opponents at net, and they've got a big space down the middle to aim for. The other time this is quite common is after the serve. So here you can see the person serves, moves forward, but not enough to actually cover that net position, and it's easy for the opponent to hit to the feet and therefore come forward and again end up losing that net position. So at this point we're going to look at shot direction and court position. Here, this backhand volley, he probably shouldn't have gone cross like that, and it means his partner's got to cover the whole court, but now this backhand, he's out of position. But as he went back cross-court, he's left a big gap down the middle of the court. So you've got to be aware, in that position, you need to hit according to where you're standing. So you can see from those few videos that the court position is really important, and particularly when you're at net, because you want to try and hold that net. And a lot of time I refer to the objective of Padel, which is basically to try and win the point. You're better off doing that if you're at net. So if you give the net away easily just by walking out of the good net position and moving yourself into a bad court position, then it's a real shame. So that's one thing to focus on. We're now going to look at your net ready position and how you can take advantage of being at net once you're there. So when we look at net position, you've got to think the majority of the time you want to try and be either building or attacking in the point, but there are obviously times when you might have to be defensive and hit a block. So here we're going to look at a time when this happens far too often. The player looks almost surprised that the ball comes to them and they make a mistake because they're not ready. You want to treat your net position almost like a kind of goalkeeper defending a penalty, that you're constantly on your toes, not sure where it's going to go, but you're going to be able to react quickly in time. Here you can see, I'm going to zoom right in and you see where that racket is. It's down almost by the legs, and therefore it's impossible to get that fast into position if it's not out in front of you and pointing upwards already. Again, we're going to see another example of this. And it happened a lot in this match that players at net lost the point because look, the racket again is down, and therefore it looks like he's completely surprised by the ball that comes over to him. When you get the net position, you really want to take advantage of it. Often you've worked hard to get there. So here you can see the lob goes in and the player's just on his back foot. You can see after that volley he took a step back because he was leaning backwards. So you want to make sure you're on your toes. Here you can see that racket dangling down by the side on the forehand side, and it means look where it is right now. It's on that side. He obviously doesn't have time to get to his backhand because he wasn't in the ready position with the racket in the centre line of his body. This is so important. I'm going to make another example of it. Look, it's down by the side of his body, so there's no way that he can react quickly enough if the ball comes up. And you can see here that it means that the accuracy of the volley is not good enough. And this is so common. Like, I see this all the time with players and their ready positions. So the ready position is one thing, and also the mindset is another thing. You can see here the net player, good bounce on the toes, but is moving backwards for his volley. And so look where he's ended up finishing. So it's very difficult to be attacking when you're on that back foot like that. It does start from the ready position, but also it is important in your mind to think, right, I want to try and attack this volley if I can. And that also includes when you're moving between the shots. I like this point. This is a good point. So good transitioning forward and backwards. Nice taking of the net there with the lob. The players come forward. Again, they take the net back. This is a good paddle point. And here you can see that there's a short volley. And from the volleys have actually moved back and left a big space behind them. So it's that mentality of always trying to come forward if you can. The two areas where it's often you see players not taking that net position back is after the serve, not getting in forward enough like that, or when they've been lobbed with the bandeja, like there, for example, he's going to hit the shot and doesn't take the net. And you can see his partner's a bit confused. His partner ends up running back and then he's following. If you stick to the main objectives, then it's easier for you and easier for your partner. You can hit some great volleys, but if you're not in a good position, then you're going to be in trouble. Here you can see, look, some great volleys. Good from the server. He's playing into that corner, good volley down the middle. But look, moving backwards means that you end up in a court position where you've lost your net. Now, in this situation, you sprint forward and you manage to keep onto it. But you can see, again, look, every volley you're taking 1 or 2 steps back and you're making it easier for your opponents. So you can see there were two main areas that we were talking about there. First of all, the ready position. So having that racket up in front of you in the center line so that you can move equally to both forehand and backhand side. And also the kind of mental approach that you want to always be ready. Expect the ball is coming to you, like a goalkeeper in a penalty I mentioned. And from there, you're on your toes and you're ready to go either way. Now, if that is the case, then you're more likely to be able to get into a good position and attack that next ball. If you're back on your heels or you're thinking and you end up volleying and taking 1 or 2 steps back each time, then it's obvious that you're going to end up in the wrong position. So now we're going to go a little bit more into the preparation of the shot. Here I'm referring to preparation as imagining every ball is yours. So when that ball goes back, like that for example, you want to get fast in position and imagine you're going to attack it, not get caught by surprise. I'm not referring to the split step ready position, everything like that. I'm more thinking of mentally, you've got to get yourself in a good position every time you can. So the lob goes up. We'll talk about the shot after the glass in a minute, but here, look at this. It doesn't look like either of those players are going to hit the ball and it's already bounced. So you want to get into that position as quick as possible to give yourself the best chance. Now, we're going to talk about this later, but when you set the feet before it hits the glass, it often means that you haven't done enough footwork to get in the right position, and therefore you're going to be out of position on the shot. So that leads us nicely into the shot after the back glass. So this is when you've been lobbed, the ball bounces off that back glass and you can attack it. We're going to look at some good examples. There's some good examples in the game, and we're going to look at some examples of how you can improve it. But this is really an important shot to focus on because it's so common. So to begin with, we'll look at some good examples here. The lob goes up and you can see the racket's back early. He's got good space from the ball and he can get his body weight through it. That's a nice example. We're going to see that again. Again, this time he's moved around it. And again, good space on this side. This is one of your favorite shots. I can see that it's a good shot here. Now we're going to look at a couple of good and bad examples. So when the ball goes back, you see the racket is dangling down by the side and it means he's forced to hit a lob. Here, again, good space on that shot, a nice attacking shot after the glass there. It really is about getting quickly into space and having your racket up nice and early so that you can hit a good shot. Here we're going to see an example that needs a bit of improvement. So that lob goes up and often players just shuffle back like this, the racket down by your side, and it means you can't be aggressive. You have to hit up on that ball. So you've got to try and get back as fast as possible so you can be aggressive. Quite a common problem with this shot is getting too close to the ball, and often players run in the line of the ball. So here we're going to see that example. This one's difficult to see because of the camera angle, but here the player runs back in line with the ball and therefore doesn't have the space to actually swing through it. And you'll see another example now. It's the same type of lob, will go over the head, and again running in line with the ball, you need to run to the side so that you have space. It can be tricky judging the right lob to do this on. So here you can see that the lob is actually a fast lob and the player doesn't have time to get in a good position, but still goes for the attacking shot, which is a bit of an error. So you want to make sure that you choose the right balls to be aggressive on. That last point is really important when you're dealing with this shot. You want to analyze the type of lob that you get. Now, I've done a video before on 2 types of lob, and you can basically either get a fast lob, which goes over the head and it bounces quickly off the glass and you often don't have time to get in position, or you have the high lob, which bounces and comes away from the glass, which is usually the one that you can attack more. In this last example, it was a relatively low fast lob, and you could see that he wasn't in position and didn't have enough time, so he was still aggressive, and that's where the error was. That's the time where you might want to either lob back or you want to hit down to the feet. If you can, get back and be aggressive on that ball, but if the lob doesn't allow or time doesn't allow, then you need to be sensible with that shot. Okay, now we're going to have a little look at the return. So when it comes to the return, you need to make the decision either hit before the glass or after the glass. So here you get a bit stuck stepping towards the glass and then play it slightly after, and therefore it's obviously a difficult return. Here you've tried to go before, I think, and you've just ended up jammed against that glass. There are a few videos on my channel about this, but what you want to do is you want to make that decision before or after, and then either step diagonally and take it before or allow it off the glass. The important thing with the return is making that early decision. If you make an early decision, get yourself into position, then you should be fine on the return. Most of the problem is that players panic and they don't know what to do, and then they're kind of like jabbing at the ball and therefore make a mistake. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at some points to finish. I'm actually going to do a few points on defending the smash. So that's when the person smashes and you're coming forward and defending that shot. And then we'll go into the messy points and I'll finish with some feedback at the end. Okay, so looking at this defending of the smash, normally what you want to do is when you see your opponent attack like this is move forward. And this is a good example. We've got some good examples here of reading it and moving into position nice and early. Again, he smashed that from far back in the court, but that's fine. Here, again, this is a good point. I like this point. A good big smash, and that was a good smash. And you guys came into position nicely. One thing to really remember is you don't have to smash that next ball back really hard. Again, another example where you've tried to hit that back so hard when really you've got the net position. You could just place it back into the court and you've done your job of taking the net. And obviously when talking about this, I couldn't not include this delightful little shot here through the middle there. The crowd would have gone wild. This is just a good example of a point here, really. I'm not sure about this chest-high volley at the back of the court, but apart from that, the players have come forward, they've transitioned well, nice volley down the middle, a lovely defensive smash here to keep that net position, and good speed, like nothing risky, just sensible paddle there. And here is another example of just a good speed volley and sensible placement. Here comes forward, and you can see like nothing risky about that at all, just in the corner, double glass, perfect. Okay, here we're going to look at another good point. Good serve, good volley, and even though he steps back on the volley, he comes back forward again. Good volley into that corner, putting pressure on the backhand side. Again, some very good paddle here. And more of the same in this point. You know, the players are holding the net position, forcing the others back. Good, sensible volleys to the corners, nothing stupid. The only thing is that smash was a bit risky. He's obviously falling back in the court, should try and be sensible. And when you're being sensible and playing sensible paddle, this is when you win most of the points. Again, good bandeja, come forward. Could have come forward a little bit faster, but still kept that net position, forcing them back. Good volleys into the corner. I keep saying nothing risky, but that is how you're winning the majority of the points. And just finishing off with those good points is a good illustration that just by playing kind of sensible paddle, going for big spaces, not doing anything kind of flashy, you end up winning a lot of points like that. And actually often at every level, that really decides who actually wins the match. So if we're just going to recap this video now, I'm going to go through the different sections again for you. So we've got the smashing. So to begin with the smashing, be aggressive when it's the right time to be aggressive. If you're in a good position and your opponent is in the back glass, that's a good time and go for it. Just be aggressive and go for it. If you're going to be sensible and play either bandeja or defensive smash, then try and play that the majority of the time cross court and regain your net position. That is the purpose of the bandeja. So you play a nice controlled shot into the corner and then get your net position back. And when we're talking about your net position, I think the aim there is to always be alert, always be ready on your toes with your body weight slightly over your toes so that you're always looking to attack that ball and don't allow yourself to take these backward steps and therefore find yourself in no man's land. When it comes to playing the ball off that back glass, early preparation. If you get back fast, give yourself the racket back early and you give yourself lots of space, then you'll normally hit a good shot on that ball. You've got to have that space, and that means often running to the side of the ball so you can have that space. Now when we're looking at the return, it's about the early decision. So either before the glass or after the glass, but either way, make that choice. It's really important that you make that choice because that will make it easier for you to actually execute. And then finishing with the points, I think go for sensible paddle. When you played sensible paddle, you played some really good points. Now, I've already done the video on the warm-up, which obviously was your warm-up, so that's something also to take into consideration. If you have a really good structured warm-up where you're warming everything up, then you're going to start the game really well. And one of the things that feedback for the overall match, having watched, you know, a set or how long that was you got better as you kind of went into it, or you got kind of warmer and more sensible with your shot choices. So if you have a good warm-up, I'm sure you will immediately start the match in the same way. As I said at the beginning of the video, guys, thanks very much for signing up for this service. I hope you found it useful, and thank you for putting your trust in me to do it. And I hope it improves your game. That's really the aim of this video and the aim of all of my videos. If you've got any questions and you want me to dive in a little bit deeper, then you'll find me on pretty much all of the social media platforms, or you've got my email, and I'm happy to go into a little bit more depth. So hopefully you continue to enjoy your paddle, and yeah, I'll see you on another video.